fantastical, so unpredictable, here on the SNL Network.
Yes, that is right. Hello, everybody. It is John, and I am back in the driver's seat after I gave the keys to Haynes to drive the car for the roundtable. They did such a good job, Haynes and Gabby and Rich and Sean on the roundtable, talking about everything from this week's episode, Simu Liu and Saweetie. And we had a great show on the Hot Take Show this Saturday night. So it's just been a really fun week of SNL coverage, and I'm so happy to be back, and I'm so thrilled that I get to talk to somebody that I've never talked to on a podcast before, but he is one of our patrons and somebody that we communicate with regularly on social platforms and has been in the chat for a bunch of our shows. So welcome to the show, Brennan Keller. Brennan, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well. Worked a long day at work. Went to the pharmacy this morning, got some shots in my arms. So my arms are pretty dead, but the body's doing pretty well. So that's what I got going for me.
Yeah, glad to hear it. I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but I actually got my second COVID shot last year for our roundtable, our Anya Taylor-Joy finale roundtable.
Okay.
And if you go back and you watch that show, you will see throughout the show, I'm just sweating. Like it's just uncontrollable sweating throughout that show. So I can certainly relate, and I hope you're good, and we'll get through the show.
I'm doing pretty well.
Together. So Brennan, for anybody who hasn't seen you or doesn't know you from like online, I know you're very active in the Reddit community as well.
Yeah.
Can you just tell the listeners like about yourself and how you got into SNL?
All right, I'm Brennan. I grew up on the best of DVDs and VHSs that the family had around the house. I remember my first SNL episode I ever watched was the full episode I ever watched. I remember it is it's pretty good time for this. It was Anne Hathaway's 2010 Thanksgiving episode, so we're right around that. But cool. The first SNL I ever watched that ever, like, I remember seeing was an episode with Fred Armisen as Barack Obama, and I was like, oh, it's 10:30 at night. I'm gonna go watch SNL because I've seen SNL videos before, so I'm so excited to watch it. The news cuts and it says, and now a message from the President of the United States, and I went, oh my gosh, I thought we were gonna get SNL, and then the president's gonna be on right now. I was just about to watch my favorite show, or about to be my favorite show, but nope, the president was on, and then 5 seconds later, it's Fred Armisen. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I mean, Brennan, most people would not be tricked by Fred Armisen as Obama.
Well, I mean, just how official the voiceover is at the start of every show. You just know, it's C-SPAN. You're like, oh, I must have changed the channel on accident. That's what happened.
Yes,
but no, it's
for sure.
It was pretty much caught on and just watched the show pretty much every week from there on. I didn't miss a single episode through the entirety of when I was in college for 4.5 years, so that was pretty well. I don't want to say I skipped prom to watch SNL because my favorite musical guest was on there. That was Courtney Barnett in 2016 with Fred Armisen episode.
Cool.
But yeah, I did not go to prom because SNL was on with Courtney Barnett and Fred Armisen. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna watch this instead. So
yeah,
pretty big fan of the show.
Brennan, I mean, if you had to pick between the Mr. Bunting sketch and going to prom, I think seeing the Mr. Bunting sketch live was totally worth it. So I think you made the right choice there. Yes.
100%.
So that's really cool. And can you tell the listeners about what you do on Reddit? Because you post a really cool thread every weekend that there's a live episode, and people who aren't on the Live from New York subreddit should know about it.
Yeah. So if you check out the Live from New York subreddit, every week we do a live discussion thread with the community just to discuss the episode. And this season I've been posting it early to discuss the vintage episode for states that get that early. And I know in like California, it premieres after the episode, but it's still a good chance to get a quick little discussion about a vintage episode that might have not gotten a discussion thread in the first place. And then as soon as the episode ends, I also do a sketch sorting Sunday thread where we discuss each sketch and the musical guest and the host that came on for that week, and we rate them. Just give them a thumbs up or thumbs down, and see what was the highest rated of the week and which one did not do as well as maybe the writers hoped it would.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a really cool companion piece to the Hot Take show. So if you're looking for somewhere to just like type to people, I think it's like during the show especially. It's
Absolutely,
really cool.
yep.
So I think that's really fun. So Brennan, let's talk about season 47. So
Yes.
we haven't heard your thoughts on this current season. How are you feeling about things overall? We're right like past our first couple act breaks of the season, headed towards that that major point near Christmas. So how are you feeling about it all?
I'm a big fan of the show, so everything's good, but I haven't had an episode I disliked this year so far. I haven't had a host I didn't dislike. I haven't had a musical guest that I didn't not enjoy, at least a little bit. And overall, this is a really well done start of the season. And when we get to that halfway point and then it disappears for the Winter Olympics, I'll be missing it, but I'll be enjoying the Winter Olympics because I always enjoy watching the Olympics. So I would say 8 out of 10 season so far, which is a good rating for me. I think last year around this time was about a 7 out of 10, maybe 6 out of 10, but I've had an awesome time with this season so far. And I mean, my favorite host so far, surprisingly, maybe was Simu, but depending on if he had the best sketches, that's not going to be really the case. He was just what I thought was my favorite host so far this season. So
yeah, that's so interesting, Brennan, because like if you listen to our discussion this week, I think that's the sentiment that TJ, Nicole, and I had on the Hot Take show. Was like, hey, Simu was a really great host. Like, I wouldn't say that this episode was my favorite episode. I still would stack this probably right in the middle of what we've seen this season. I think we did this in the Patron group a little bit, and I'll tell you the results in a sec. But like, we asked some of the patrons like their list of like episodes that they preferred, and also we asked our Instagram audience about the hosts and like which ones they preferred. But I think I came down on the fact that Simu was a really great host. I don't know that the episode necessarily lived up to him as a host, but considering the other hosts we saw in November, Kieran Culkin and Jonathan Majors, I don't know that I felt like they did as good of a job as Simu. So I was really impressed.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
And for some reason, the people on the roundtable did not give him did not give him the same credit. I don't know why. What was up with that?
But I just thought it was interesting, especially these November episodes. Every host seemed nervous, which I liked, but there's just something about like when Kieran came out for his monologue, you're like, oh, I can tell this guy's nervous. And then Jonathan Majors came out for his monologue, like, oh, I can tell this guy's nervous. And they kind of stayed nervous through the first few sketches and everything like that. That's at least what I got. And then Simu, I thought that he's like, I'm nervous, but I know that I have like comedic chops, and I know that I can just do this, and I know that I can do a pretty good job with what role I'm given in each sketch. So
yeah, and I just think like this line,
I'm Shang-Chi, bitch.
Like, such a killer line to end on, and obviously like really just memeable. So like I just think like he set himself up with the confidence. He explained that he normalized himself basically by talking about his history as a Spider-Man performer, talking about his like a relatable being a Canadian for me. So I mean that was fun. You talked about this.
I got Shang-Chi how every Canadian gets their big break by asking politely.
Yeah, and it was just cool. Like it was like really cool, and I just was like, if you saw Shang-Chi and you liked him, and then you go and watch SNL this week, you're gonna like him even more. Like it was just, I felt like the entire night I was rooting for him. So
I agree.
Yeah,
and so he was my favorite part of Shang-Chi, and I watched some of Kim's Convenience's other show, and I thought that was really enjoyable, and he's just really good in that part. But I just think and like Shang-Chi's not my favorite Marvel like thing this year. It's probably in the middle from according to like the Disney Plus shows and the movies in general, but like he is a star, and that's my opinion for sure. He's just really knows what's up, and he can like be center stage, he can be in the main actor, he can be anything he needs to be, and I think he's just a really talented guy.
Yeah. So Brennan, let me ask you, what are your thoughts on like the cast as a whole this season? Are there any cast members that you feel like are standing out in a good way that may have been like a little unexpected for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone from the first episode knew that James Austin Johnson would just show up. Well, no one knew that he'd show up like that, and now he's pretty much already performer and one of the main guys of just like if by the time we get to the end of the season, if James Austin Johnson does it just keeps doing what he's doing, he's going to be one of the main household names on SNL for years to come, I think, right away. I'm not seeing much from Punky, which is a bit sad, but it's interesting, especially after like Lauren Holt left after one season last year. It kind of makes me sad that this group of new individuals is surpassing the ones from the year before. Not all the way, but I'm just seeing a lot more growth really fast from the new people this season than I was from season 46, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. And what would you credit that to? Like, do you think that's a production behind the scenes thing, or do you think just like the talent from this new crop of rookies is just like higher than what we got to see in the past?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I don't know. I think if I recall correctly, there was a really big change in writers this time around, so I'm not sure if the new writers are gravitating towards the new cast more than the people who were there before them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a really excellent point. I mean, part of the arguments that we have been making has been like, hey, Please Don't Destroy has been given their own section on the show, so the new
Yeah.
cast members need to work with the PDD people. And then we saw like Sarah in one of those sketches, and it was like, okay, this is something here. There's being, there's things that are developing. We saw PDD writing for Bowen and writing for Chris and stuff like that. And but besides PDD, there's an additional 7 new writers that joined the writing room that we don't talk about as much as being very much a part of season 47. And it's certainly possible that this rookie class, which includes not only 3 new cast members but also 10 new writers, is just really coming in and like bringing life to the show in a way that we haven't seen in 4 or 5 years. So for me, I would say that you're right on the money. I think that has a major factor, and it's almost a little bit of a shame that people who, like somebody like a Lauren or Punky, wasn't able to capitalize on the same thing. So I think it's probably both. I think that's the right answer that we're headed towards. Is like these people are really talented, really freaking talented, but also they just came in at the perfect time where SNL is like moving in a new direction. Yeah. So that's good. Okay, so I do want to, we're going to talk about social media. We're going to talk about stuff from season 47 and answer a lot of feedback questions as we go. But I would be remiss, Brennan, if we didn't talk a little bit about SNL Thanksgiving. I know that this is the traditional day every year. It's the day before American Thanksgiving, where NBC shows their Thanksgiving special. So we were talking a little bit earlier, and you said, you always love to watch that show. So are there Thanksgiving sketches in the history of SNL that really stand out to you as ones that you just love?
Yeah, so I did a quick review of just the Thanksgiving sketches of the last 2 years, and then just typed in SNL Thanksgiving on YouTube and see which are the first ones that came to mind. And I don't know if you've recognized this in the subreddit recently. There's been a lot of hate, that's not the right word. There's been a lot of there's been more people saying, oh, you know what, Kristen Wiig, her roles and her recurring characters, they were never that good. They were never that good. Kristen Wiig is overhyped, and some of the characters she played, they were all the same. They were all annoying, and I don't get that. But like she had like Aunt Sue, which was the surprise lady, and that was probably one of my first recurring sketches that I really enjoyed. And the one that I remember, especially, this will be going back to my opener where I talked about Anne Hathaway in 2010. There's a Thanksgiving one with Penelope, which is a character that I really enjoyed, where she's just one-upping everyone. And I just you can always find something good for Thanksgiving, which is interesting because looking over the last few years, I saw Chance the Rapper had two really, really well done ones with where he was in the Bruce Wayne house and he just talked about how Batman would just break everyone's jaws and then tie him up. And then there's also he had the Family Feud one with Steve Harvey and his family. And it was both of those were really funny. But the last thing is the Thanksgiving one has so many really, really, really good pre-tapes. Is what I noticed for
Yeah.
sure. It has the Adele Thanksgiving. It has the Target one, Target commercial where it's Vanessa Bayer's doing the voiceover and Cecily's in the car, and it goes, "It has the thing you need most for being back for the first time since the election, a big parking lot that you can just sit in for a while." And that is such a good line. It's there's so many well done pre-tapes from the Thanksgiving-ish time.
Yeah. So what's interesting for me with SNL Thanksgiving stuff, and to comment on your Kristen Wiig thing, I think there's a lot of hate for Kristen in terms of like an unfair hate where
Yeah.
she was part of like an incredible cast, and her female cast left the show. And they
Yes.
had a hard time replacing people like Amy and Tina and Rachel and Maya. And a lot of the pressure was put on to Kristen to repeat the recurring characters that she did. And people got very critical of her for those types of things. But if you take all that aside and you look at it like I grew up in that era, like, I mean, that was my teenage years where I was just like in love with the show. And like, there, like, just seeing her doing those recurring characters was like so much fun, so quotable. Like, we talked about that every week, like at high school, like Penelope sketches. Like every girl in my high school was doing Penelope. So I totally resonate where you're coming from with the Kristen stuff. So I do think that the hate is a little bit too much on that sense. But when it comes to like my favorite Thanksgiving stuff, I actually think that like one of the best eras for Thanksgiving stuff is an era that doesn't get talked about very much, but it's a underrated era, and it's really the Will Ferrell era of the show.
Oh,
that
yes.
I find has a lot of high quality Thanksgiving material. We don't talk about it as much on this show because like there are podcasts that cover older eras of the show, but I think that for me, like I think of a couple ones, which was like the Dysfunctional Family. I believe that there was one. I think it was with Gwyneth Paltrow. That's like
I just remember that being on probably one of the best of Will Ferrell ones where it's so quiet and then just ramps up and then goes quiet and then ramps. It's so good. It's such a well done sketch.
Yeah, like nobody could go from absolute calm to yelling like crazy like Will. So it was just that stuff was incredible. And then there was one, and I'm pretty sure, and again, I apologize if I make a mistake on this, but I'm pretty sure that this sketch wasn't intended to be a Thanksgiving sketch, but was around a dinner table and then was put in a bunch of Thanksgiving specials after. And that was the Bird Family sketch. Do you remember this one where
Oh my gosh.
I'm
gonna check to make sure.
Yeah, I think it was with
noticed
Juliana
it.
Margulies. Yes, and it was like they were chewing food like a baby bird and like spitting it in each other's mouths. And to me, that is like an all-time SNL Thanksgiving sketch, even though that wasn't necessarily they put that in the Thanksgiving specials a few times. So like there are some really great sketches from those eras of the shows that are underrated. And Brennan, the last thing I'll say is like the best part of these Thanksgiving specials or Christmas specials that SNL do is like, not a lot of people are crazy like John and are going to go back and watch every single episode of the show from 1975, right? But if you can get little glimpses of some of the best sketches from different eras of the show, like there's no better way to get like young people into SNL and its history like that.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. Like, what's the last thing I can think about this? Thanksgiving.
Well, if you think of any others, go ahead. Yeah.
But I was gonna say over COVID when Peacock came out, I spent many days just going to a random year and then just starting at episode 1 and then just going through each episode and just really having a great time. Like there isn't an SNL episode where I can say that I didn't laugh, which is perfect because you can always find one sketch or one line that's really funny and it's not going to be a waste of time. Like it's crazy. There are there are times I'll see like talking online or like an episode where it says, that was not a good episode. That didn't make me laugh at all. Or I know another podcast does like rate this episode as an A or a B or a C or a D, and then I'll just click like an A or a B because I'm like, wow, I had a good time this episode, and then everything else is like C or D for the actual ratings. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess you didn't like it as much as I did, but that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I get that. I think that how do I say this? I think there are episodes for me, at least in terms of like that I've watched, where I could say
Mhm.
the humor doesn't always apply, but
Yeah.
I think there's something for everybody. There's something for somebody in every single
Yes,
episode of
that's
SNL.
the best
So
way
if
to
you
put it. Yeah.
that's how I think it is. Yeah. So look, we're gonna keep going. The
Perfect.
Thanksgiving special starts at 9 o'clock, and if we end up being live for when this is airing, I know Brennan, you'll keep an eye on it. You'll let us know
Yeah.
what sketches are airing while this is happening. So let's talk about something I mentioned before we get to the social media, and that was the favorite episode so far in the first 7. Okay, so this is something we pulled the patrons in the patron group, and we said, give us your top 7. Okay. So
Yeah.
Brennan, I'm not going to ask you for your top 7, but just tell me what you think the patrons voted on for their top 7 episodes of the season. Can you give me, you want to give me the order, or do you want to tell me where you think Simu left? Like, tell me what how you want to go about this.
I'm going to go, I'll do it. I'll go 1 through 7. But I think, okay, let's go 1 through 7. Okay. I'm going to do Remy Malik, then Jason, then Kim. Kim would be like 6 or 7 for me, which isn't bad. Which I liked every episode so far. Yeah, so let's go Remy, Jason, Kim, Kieran, Simu, Majors, Owen Wilson, last place.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the bottom of the list you got correct.
Yeah.
So Majors and Wilson are the last 2 that the patrons vote on. Let me bring it up on screen. I'll bring it up so anybody who's watching the video can see this. So like I said, we asked the patrons, we said, give us your top 7 list. Okay. This was the order. So Sudeikis was in first. Yeah. So Sudeikis, I think most people would regard it as the best episode of the season.
I was that was too easy. That's why I could not put Sudeikis up. I was like, no, they couldn't pick Sudeikis. There's no way they picked Sudeikis. Of course they did.
I think if you had to say, like, we're only at 7 episodes, Brennan, but like I think the Mount Rushmore of the season, you're putting Sudeikis, Culkin, and Rami Malek on that list of the season. I think that Culkin's an interesting one because Kieran, probably not as highly regarded as a host, but the episode itself was really good.
Yes.
So Sudeikis is first. Kieran Culkin's episode was second. Rami Malek's was third. So whatever order you have those top 3, and I think a lot of people had those. And then Simu Liu comes in at 4th. Yeah. So that's what I would do. I would probably say I'd probably put Malek episode above Culkin maybe, but Sudeikis, Culkin, Malek, Liu, those are our top 4. And then the bottom 3 is Kim K, Majors, and Wilson. So I think that the Kim K one is a little bit more controversial.
Yeah,
some people may have that at the bottom. Yeah, but so one more time: Sudeikis, Culkin, Malek, Liu, Kardashian, Majors, and Wilson. I thought that would be interesting to talk about. We also asked our Instagram audience, so we had a ton of people answer this. They said, "Which host would you like to see return again in the future?" Okay. So we've had a ton of one-time hosts. Do you have the answer for that?
Who I want to see return? Well, I mean, it's gonna be Sudeikis number 1. I think.
It is Sudeikis. Actually, 46% of the audience said they want to see Sudeikis return. Okay,
And
who
then,
do you think it's second?
It's either gonna be Culkin or Malek, for sure.
Yeah,
and I think those are probably 2 and 3, right? Well, I don't know which order they are, but I think it's gonna be 2 and 3.
Very similar order. Yeah, it's exactly. It's Rami Malek, then Kieran Culkin, and then Simu Liu goes in 4th. Kim K, Owen Wilson, Jonathan Majors at the bottom. So
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so it's interesting how people look at host versus episode, but for me, I agree with where the audience is overall feeling about this. I feel like this is the middle of the road. So Brennan, I totally I love the fact that you think that this is this was your favorite episode of the season, because we're going to talk about the sketches and the moments in this episode, and you'll tell me what you think of them. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so let's get into some
Let's do it.
SNL social media. So, Brennan, I'll read out some stuff
Mhm.
and you tell me what
Perfect.
you think. So, let's start off with at Louis ZFX on Instagram. That is Louis Zakarian, and he does a lot of
Mhm.
special effects work on, especially this week with Kyle's Baby Yoda. So,
Yep.
Louis ZFX says it's always fun when we get a visit from Baby Yoda at NBC SNL #SNL Makeup.
Mhm.
So this is really fun. Louis is a great follow, by the way. We haven't probably spoken about him on the Patron feedback show, but he's an amazing follow on Instagram. You get to see a lot of the work that they do behind the scenes with putting makeup on people. So he posted a photo of Che and Baby Yoda. Said it's always great to have Baby Yoda back. Thoughts on having Baby Yoda back?
I don't dislike Baby Yoda. I don't. It's not in my list of characters I prefer return, but I thought it was funny this time around, and I don't have very many complaints about it. I thought the Baby Groot joke was pretty funny, and I thought that the makeup is so dumb. It's so funny. It's so
Yeah.
dumb.
Hell yeah!
It's
So stupid.
so stupid. It's when it returns again and people complain about it again, I'll just watch it. That's what's gonna happen.
Honestly, I have to say, I cannot
Mhm.
remember a SNL situation, whether it's a sketch or somebody
Yep.
on Update, that people are more disappointed about seeing
Yeah,
on
yeah.
first glance and then being like, okay, wasn't that bad? Like that nobody wants to say it was great, but everybody's like, okay, it was that. Like if this was the first time we saw Baby Yoda, I think this was our 5th time we saw it. It was our
Yeah, yeah,
first
yeah.
time. I think people would be
been more
pretty
than
high on
you
it.
think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that he shows up like you're like, "Oh, it's Baby Yoda. I bet they're going to talk about the Mandalorian or something." No, it's just he just shows up. He just shows
Yeah.
up whenever he wants, yeah. And I think
Exactly.
I don't know if that's the reason because I know that Baby Yoda is popular with the kids. I know it's not that. I know somewhere behind the scenes they're like, this is so funny. We're gonna bring it back. And I
Yeah.
know that part of that is just Kyle's amazing costume / makeup and like it's I don't know. Baby Yoda is there on Weekend Update and that's what he does. He shows up every once in a while and people go, "Oh boy, it's Baby Yoda." And then they watch it and they're like, "All right, that was funny."
Yeah, look, I can never see this again and be perfectly fine with it, but
Yeah.
it's just like I think that was good, and like I think people need to like chill. But Kryptoni is 15 in the chat. One of our friends says, "I know a lot of people hate Baby Yoda, but I got to admit I love the character. He's like an obnoxious, aspiring internet celebrity, a fad that definitely wants to be of the moment." Yeah, that's a
That's a
good way to
great
put
way
it.
to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, good job, buddy. That's a great one. Okay. I also like the way that Kyle said this, by the way. Just I didn't get to do my sound clips on the round table, so I'll do a little bit here. But I love the way Kyle
Yeah.
said this.
I don't really talk about that stuff, but yeah, I'll tell you everything.
Yeah. It was just
It's a great accent. It's so funny. Well, accent's not the right word, but it's a great like dialect or way he just performs it because it's it's not Baby Yoda. It's nowhere close to the character of Baby Yoda. It's just a guy.
So dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was what's funny is like Kyle doesn't really do impressions, so
No.
it's like that's why like he could pull this off.
Mhm.
Yeah, so this was good. Okay, let's talk about Instagram here from Mark underscore Cohen.
Okay.
This is the original singer of Walking in Memphis.
Yeah,
And he
Mark
posted
Cohen,
a
yeah.
photo. Yeah, exactly. So he posted a photo on Instagram of him and Method Man and Big Wet and Mark Cohen.
Mhm.
And Pete Davidson. The four of them, who you would never have thought would be a foursome, but apparently this is our new boy band. Mark underscore Cohen says, still not sure how I ended up in Staten Island. Link in bio for Walking in Staten. And a lot of people like loved this and loved seeing Mark Cohen in this. What were your thoughts on the Walking in Staten?
I love the original song. I had a really good time enjoying the parody, even though I've been to New York literally one time, and I've never been to Staten Island, but I know that Pete Davidson knows his area, and I know that he can make a rap, and he can get some good rappers and some talented people to show up whenever he wants, and I was so glad to see Mark Cohn show up for a parody of his most popular song, and it's a song I've enjoyed for many years, and it's just great to see a parody. I recognize it from the first like piano start, and I was like, walking in Memphis? What? I'm so excited. What's it gonna be? And I was like, walking in Staten. Heck yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a music guy. Like
Mhm.
a lot of people don't know this about me, but I've been a DJ at a ton of private and corporate events, and I
Awesome.
have a ridiculous. Most people listen to music on Spotify now,
Mhm.
and they don't download music, but I have a ridiculous library of downloaded music. I have to tell
Mhm.
you, I love Walking in Memphis. I have listened to the Lone Star version of Walking in
Okay.
Memphis 100 times. I've probably never listened to the Mark Cohen one. Maybe that's sacrilegious for people who
No,
like
no,
the
no,
song.
no, no. So there are
Yeah,
songs that you go, "Oh, I love the cover version. Have you heard the original?" You go, "No." That's the song
yeah.
you go, "Yep."
Yeah, that's the country music fan in me every now and then. But yeah. Anyways, this was really good. I mean, we talked about this a lot. I mean, they
Mhm.
talked about this on the roundtable as well. But I just think it was so different to see Pete
Mhm.
doing this versus something else, and the fact that they trusted Pete to go ahead and do this is just really cool. So I think this one will be interesting. I think we did ask on our Nicole. I'm not sure if you're still listening to the show, but if they did ask the on our Instagram story, we said like which Pete rap slash song was the favorite of the season. So
Mhm.
if you had to choose between Squid Game, Walking in Staten, or Three Sad Virgins, which one was your favorite?
Okay. Let's go. I'll go Three Sad Virgins. Not by much, but
Yeah.
that one was just really enjoyable to see the PDD guys, and it was just dumb humor, and you just like to see those characters just get made fun of, or those guys that I mean, of course they're a little bit nerdy and stuff, but it worked out perfectly. And then Taylor Swift's there, and it that was a lot more, that had a more balanced, really good, I thought. One of the complaints I heard about Walking in Staten, at least from the Reddit chat, was its length of over 4 minutes long, but it's shorter than the actual song, so that's what I got to say about that.
Yeah, I think
Squid
what I
Game was
would
fun.
say. Yeah, Squid Game was fun too, but like I
Yep.
think I would definitely say Three Sad Virgins was my favorite. My only thing that I didn't love about Three Sad Virgins is like I wanted more Taylor Swift in Three Sad
Yeah,
Virgins
yeah. She
because
had
I
one
felt like
line. Yep. Well,
yeah, and I felt
one
like when
line.
she
Yeah.
came in, it became like a banger. Like it became like a really sick song. And I would like love to have that song and wish she was like a part of it because like that's the type of thing that made
Yeah.
SNL like really fun during the Lonely Island era. Is like you could take the
Mhm.
song and you could take it out of the show. And I
Mhm.
wonder if like they would have had her for like half the song if like that song is now going up on Spotify and like
Yep.
people are listening to it. So that's the only thing I would say. But Walking Staten was okay.
Mhm.
Um, okay.
And I know they
Uh,
did add Squid Game to Spotify, so that was cool.
Yeah. So
Yep.
so I guess we'll see what pops up here during the break. Okay. At Simu Liu on Instagram. So you said you love to see him, and I just so proud of
Mhm.
the guy. And he says it was over so fast, it was like a dream. I mean, maybe not one of those dreams that you wake up feeling particularly well rested, more like an awesome dream where you're flying and shooting laser beams out of your hands and shit, beating the crap out of alien invaders, and then the president of Earth gives you a Medal of Valor, and Kate Blanchett calls you up and is like, "What's up?" And right when you're about to meet Kate Blanchett for coffee, you wake up suddenly because there's construction outside your building, and you scream, "No!" because you desperately want to be back in the dream. Yeah, that was Saturday Night Live. Thanks, Lauren, Lindsay, and all the cast and crew. Let's do it again sometime. Hashtag I'm Shang-Chi, bitch.
It's so nice to see a host just have such a good time, and then uh like just miss it so bad right away. Like, I mean, I don't know if this is really applicable, but the Cut for Time Remy Malik PDD sketch where he just goes, I just had such a good time, and I don't want to miss you guys. I don't want to leave. I don't want to miss you guys." And then he just again destroys the laptop and leaves, and it's it's just not, except without the destroying the laptop part, if that makes sense. That's what Simo's great Instagram post is saying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. And I love, like, I know last year they did this thing. A lot of people forget about this, but in season 46, there was a thing where people were leaving notes for each
The
other. The
notes,
host.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know when that stopped. Did Elon Musk stop that?
I know,
But
he probably didn't.
but the but it would be really cool because like we love to see that stuff. We love to see like how the hosts had like how they felt about the week and all that stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, that was really fun to get to see him on the show. Okay. Were you a fan of Doghead Man?
100%. It wasn't as good as the first time around with with Sam Rockwell, but boy, I knew I in the discussion thread, I saw the two people on the outside. I saw the one guy, and I said, "There's something behind that curtain. What is it? There's something behind that curtain. There's something dumb behind that curtain." And it was Doghead Man. I was like, "Doghead Man's back." And that was all I needed.
Yeah.
It was
Go ahead. No, please go ahead.
no, it was like just they did the same jokes the second time around. The dog wasn't as controllable this time around, which added more laughs to it. But I think that it's just really dumb, and it's the perfect amount of dumb.
There was a lot of dumb humor in this episode,
Mhm.
I would say, in particular. As far as social media was concerned, we had at Streeter Seidel on Twitter said the Doghead Man team, at Mikey Funtime, which is Mikey Day, and Martin Herlihy, which we found out was who was doing the hands.
I thought it was Dismukes. That was my guess right away. I thought, oh, that's Dismukes. Nope.
Yeah,
did a good job though.
Cool. with Matilda and her handler. So Matilda the dog. Matilda did a great job. Let me just I'll see if I can get this picture up here. There you go. Yeah, it was really cool.
Such a great picture.
Yeah, very, very cute. And good for Martin Herlihy, who technically that was his first live sketch. So that's always fun to have to get that one on the board. Okay. What else we got? Okay, we have at Red Said It on Twitter. These are always pretty crazy from Chris Red. Okay. He says, buckle up, everybody. He says, when y'all interviewers ask us about Pete and Kim, what exactly are y'all looking for info-wise? Lol, like, what? No, I hate the thought of this union. Shit is weird. Ask me if my parents are still together. That's something I actually have stake in.
And I did see this one. This was so good. Like it's so funny that the paparazzi and interviews are just like, your friend / your coworker is dating this person. How do you feel about it? You're like, oh well, they're dating. I don't have much to say about it, but yeah, really, ask him about if his parents are still together because that's something he'll know for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Brennan, do you have any opinions on the Pete Davidson and Kim Kardashian union? Or am I being like an interviewer asking about Chris Red?
No, I think it's really funny how you can just go on Twitter nowadays and Pete Davidson is just super trending. And I never would have thought this guy would be the number one most famous currently SNL person, but just how it works out. And I saw a great tweet that said something along the lines of, quit hating on Pete Davidson. What if he just has a really nice personality and that's why girls like him? I was like, that is so well said. That is perfect.
I would say that would be really nice, but probably not what people are interested in when it comes to Pete Davidson.
For sure.
Yeah, I think Ariana Grande would say definitely not that. Okay. Nicole in the chat wants to know, Brennan, do you prefer #Keat or #Pim as the couple name?
Oh my gosh. Those are both terrible. Kim Car.
We come up with something better.
Car Davidson. Yep.
Okay. We're gonna have to workshop this. We're gonna by Christmas we're gonna figure this out. They may break up by then, but we'll try and figure this out between all the podcasters. We'll get the thing. What's the actual ship name for Kim and Pete? Okay. Okay, there were some other fun photos, but I definitely want to get to the feedback questions from this week. We had some fun feedback questions come in. So, Brennan, do you want to go to the document? Do you have it in front of you? Is there any questions that you would
I got it.
like?
We can just ask all of them. I'm good with whatever.
Okay, so let's start at the top then. We'll start at the top and we'll make our way through these questions. So if you're listening live right now, feel free to put any other questions you have in the chat, and Brennan and I will answer those as well. Okay, let's start with the great Benjamin Lamb, our patron from Australia that we spoke to, I think it was last week on the Patron Feedback Show. Every week starting to blend together, but great to talk to Benjamin, and he did just such a wonderful job on the show. He said, what are your thoughts on the short, sharp, and solo monologues this season, and do you think we'll see Billie Eilish do a solo monologue too? What do you think, Brennan?
I am enjoying them, but I'm surprised every time someone doesn't show up week after week. Like, last week was the first time I told myself, you know what? I don't think there's going to be a cameo this week, and I'm okay with that. I will be really happy if Billie Eilish ends up doing a musical monologue, something along those lines. But if she just does a solo monologue, I'm perfectly happy with that, and it'll keep the pace going, and hopefully we'll get more actual sketches out of it, which is what I've been seeing. We've been getting like, I've been keeping track of the sketches and stuff for that sketch sorting Sunday, but with how fast the quick monologues are going, I like to think that we're getting an extra pre-tape or an extra sketch in there each week.
Yeah, that is definitely possible, and that's a really good point. I think that probably when the Jonathan Majors one happened, like last week, I did kind of hit me that they're doing this on purpose.
Yeah,
like I think I
and
just
that's exactly
really
what
felt,
I thought too.
yeah, like I felt like it was circumstantial for a long time, and now I'm like, okay, they're definitely doing this on purpose. So I would think, this is my best guess, and Ben, who might be listening, I feel that Billie Eilish will have a solo monologue, but I don't think Paul Rudd will. I think that he will be joining the Five Timers Club. So I think that is a perfect opportunity to break this weird trend we've had all season, which has been really helpful for the show, but definitely a little odd. And I think we might get a special monologue when it comes to the Christmas show. That would be my guess.
And I would love that. I would be 100% on board for a cameo with Paul. Well, of other members of the Five Timers Club, or just actual cast members supporting him on his 5th episode.
Yeah, that'll be fun. It'll be fun. We'll definitely be talking as like when we get into December, and when we could talk on the, whether it's a roundtable or the patron shows, like we're going to be talking about which Five Timers would show up for Paul Rudd. That's always like a really fun question to ask. I'll ask you right now, just to not bury the lead, but we don't have to go through the list. We'll do that, next month. But if you had to pick a 5-timer that would show up for Paul Rudd, give me like 1 or 2.
I would love to see Steve Martin just come back. That's gonna be my first one. That's a pretty easy answer, and I'm just gonna leave it with that, because that was gonna be a guess that he was gonna, or him, or I think it was something like Selena Gomez were gonna host. Do you remember? Did you read that somewhere? It was like a leak or something.
That is, I don't know if it was a league. I just think that because the show that that they're doing together, Selena and Steve and Martin Short, like it seemed like that it was like a big, fan rumor, I guess, that this was going to happen for the Christmas show. I've seen in like a lot of these this season. I think if they wanted to do it, they would be doing it, but I don't know that they want. But I would be thrilled to have Steve show up. Like whatever we can get of Steve Martin on SNL in the future, like appreciate it. Like it's there's a lot of crazy things that happen, and we want to see Steve as much as possible.
Yeah, there's a few people that I get such a big smile on my face just saying, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's Steve Martin. He just showed up. I was like, that is amazing. I love that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we're gonna get Alec. I would say that after his crazy fall, but I would probably assume. Yeah, I would say that there's no shot we're gonna see Alec. Okay. All right. We got another question in from Blood Meriden, and Blood Meriden says, now that we are nearly halfway through the season, what is the status of the feature players? Who's they locked to come back next season, and who needs to step it up? So we talked about this a bit, but let's be more specific. So out of every rookie you've seen this season, who's coming back and who could be on Danger Watch?
So the easy answer here is that everyone's coming back unless it's a cast member who didn't have a great time, personally, like their opinion. So I think all the featured players from this year have already done enough to come back for next year. I think I'm a really, really big fan of James Austin Johnson. I thought Aristotle's his one sketch and then his weekend updates were both really, really, really high quality. I wasn't as sold on Sarah, but with her weekend update, I laughed a bit, but I laughed the most at Che's line where he laughs and says, "Oh, she got you, bro." That was the most I ended up laughing at that one. But there's part of me that likes Sarah probably the second most out of everyone, which isn't saying anything bad about Aristotle. It's just she's quirky and weird, and I think it's really funny and really entertaining when she shows up in regular clothes and you go, "That's Sarah. She's wearing regular clothes. What the heck?"
Yeah, I think that I see something in the chat as well. Like I think Punky is on Danger Watch at this point. I
Yeah.
think it's
Oh,
been
yeah.
about
Especially that's
yeah.
not the rookies though. She.
Yeah.
I would say she's on Danger Watch, which is unfortunate
Yeah.
because I think she's talented. So.
Yeah, and it's been about like a season and a half, and like obviously,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm so like happy to see that SNL over the last few years is like targeting a little bit more diversity.
Yep.
So I would say like it's kind of a shame to lose Punky potentially. But and yeah, maybe if it's not Nicole in the chat says like Punky definitely on Danger Watch, but she's getting rave
Mm-hmm.
reviews for a role on season 2 of Love Life, so her career is on the up and up.
Interesting.
Like, yeah,
okay.
like
Good.
yeah, like I hope that she has other opportunities and stuff, but it's just kind of weird that they're not, like it's been a season and a half and like it's a very long time not to get to see. So I mean, for me, like Aristotle, Sarah, like I would say like we're pulling at straws if we're like
Mhm.
really talking about them
Coming
not
back.
like doing
Yeah.
a lot. Yeah, like earlier in the season when we heard like stuff about, behind the scenes about Sarah like getting stuff cut and like her not getting a lot on, like I would say that, but like definitely this run in November, things have been looking up.
Yeah.
Aristotle and Sarah obviously had a huge night during the Jonathan Majors episode. So like
Mhm.
for me, I mean, we're talking about a huge cast, which is really like 20 people, I guess, like
Yeah.
without Kate. And for me, it's like they're doing the best you could possibly imagine they would do. So I would say that even though it's the easy answer, the real answer is like I don't think we're losing anybody from a rookie class anytime soon.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing, last thing I have to say about that is, it's really unfortunate that Punky's like biggest recurring character is the niece in the Diane Warwick talk show, which, if you ask me, I think with Diane Warwick actually showing up, that means that's the end of that sketch. I don't think her character will come back.
Yeah.
Unless I'm
Yeah,
missing
that's
one
true.
off the top of my head. I think that was the one character she played multiple times, at least 3 times.
I think if Punky left tomorrow, like I would say that the thing I would remember her most for would be her update piece as the stripper.
Yeah. Perfect. Yes.
Yeah. But I cannot tell you anything else that I think I would be like that. At least the like I think I have a pretty good like radar of like the general
Mhm.
SNL fan community. I cannot tell you anything else that I would remember them being like remembering her for, unfortunately. And it sucks because like she's clearly really good. It's just like she's definitely on Danger Watch. And I think like when we do our by the numbers show next week, we'll talk a little bit more about like the statistics behind that and like what we would hope to see from her moving forward. So stay tuned for that. Okay, Brennan. This is a
Yes.
question from Ekmal Sukarno, who just came on as a patron. So thank you, Ekmal.
Awesome.
He said, in my opinion, Simu Liu did not dominate any live sketches, and he got overshadowed and upstaged by all the cast members in this episode.
Mhm.
This is in stark contrast to Jonathan Majors, whose presence in the live sketches made the audience notice it, meaning Jonathan Majors dominated all of his live sketches. All these factors ruined all the high hopes and expectations I had for Simu Liu in his SNL episode. What is your response to all of this? So this is pretty interesting from another, big fan of SNL who really sees things a lot differently than what I had seen. Do you have any response to him who feels that Jonathan Majors dominated way more than Simu?
I would agree. I think Simu had a lot more background parts, or not really background parts, but not the main character parts. I think more of Jonathan Majors' characters were the second in hand sidekick, or the especially with the Bowen and Cecily musical sketch, which I think they're part of me says, wow, this isn't funny, I should hate this, but I just love how much fun those two are having. When Jonathan Majors shows up in that sketch, he's such a huge presence for that character, and I think he's like the special guest character in that one, if that makes sense. I don't think Simu has that in any of his sketches, if that makes sense. He is there to play the part in his sketch, and he just did it with the role he was given. Like in the Thanksgiving Target sketch, he has 2-3 lines. He's like, "Oh, I'm a vegan. I don't need anything with feathers." You're like, "Oh, that's such a good joke." But he didn't dominate that sketch because he only has that line, and his character is entertaining and all. But yeah, I would agree overall that I think Jonathan Majors was written differently than Simu Liu. That's what I'll say. Jonathan Majors was written differently than Simu.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like, what do you prefer in your SNL hosts? And there
Mhm.
is no right answer, right? Like we try and figure out like which one is the best or which one is the favorite. But at the end of the day, it's all like subjective in terms of just like the like what you personally feel about
Yep.
the hosts and stuff. So I could totally resonate with that fact. I just think for me, I look for what I look for in an SNL host is like I would love like one or two things where you stand out, and maybe Majors had that more than Simu, but I
Yeah.
really do look for somebody who can blend in well with the cast and could be a cast member any single week,
Mhm.
like as a part of the show. Like Jason came back and like I made the like argument that week that I feel like Jason showed off like that he was like the best SNL cast member in the room.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, he just blended in so well. Like that's what I always loved about Timberlake when he hosted. I always just felt like he was an additional cast member. I just felt like Simu could join the SNL cast and it fits. I didn't
Yes.
necessarily feel that way about Majors. So I think that's where I'm
And
struggling with
that's
it.
that's where I'm getting at with this one too. Simu was written more of character actor's not the right word, but more of just a character role that anyone could play. But there is no one on the SNL cast that has just the huge scale of Jonathan Majors. He's such a cool looking guy, and there is no one on the SNL sketch that says, "Yeah, that's our stand-in for Jonathan Majors," if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. Okay, let's talk about this question from Nick Store, one of our great listeners. He says, "Is there a recurring sketch or character that has worked and doesn't provide diminishing returns?" So I assume this question is in reference to the fact that we got a couple of recurring
Mhm.
sketches this episode,
Really
with the
fast, yeah.
Doghead Man and then the cake and stuff like that. So do you feel like there has been situations in your experience watching SNL where there's not diminishing returns with recurring characters?
Sean Spicer, Melissa McCarthy's Sean Spicer.
Mm.
That's my answer. Every time she knocked it out of the park, and every time it was so funny. They did that sketch 4 times in probably 2 months, 3 or 4 times in 2 months, and it was probably the best part of the episode every time.
Yeah, I assume he's also referring to like J.J. as Trump and Baby
Oh,
Yoda and all
yeah,
that stuff.
yeah.
Like there was like
Mhm.
a lot of different stuff here, but it's a really interesting question because I feel like in this era
Mhm.
where there is not as many recurring characters and sketches, like this is the first era overall, I would say, in the history of the show where recurring characters and sketches don't dominate the era in the way
Yes,
that they have in the past.
I
And
agree.
I think part of the reason for that is because in general this era does have a problem keeping them fresh.
Mhm.
But I would say this question, Nick, applies to this era. But in previous eras, I have seen second and third iterations of characters and sketches that have been much higher in quality than the first
Mhm.
one. One example in
For
particular is Stefan. Like, even though he was in a sketch prior to him being on Update, like I don't think his first time on Update was as good as some of the ones that we got in the middle. Like he was on a ton of times, and I just think that era wrote so much better for recurring characters.
I would also argue Keenan as Steve Harvey. not the Family Feud, because not every Family Feud's really good. Some of them are, oh, look, it's just the one where everyone has a one-line impression and that's it, which I don't dislike. I really enjoy the one-line impression sketches because it's nice to just have 10 to 15 cast members out at a time just to do a fun impression of just a random character that you wouldn't expect. But I think that Keenan's Steve Harvey is one of my favorites. Just one of my favorite like game show hosts. I mean,
yeah.
Will Ferrell's up there too as
Yep.
Alex Trebek, and like I said, another one of those where some are better than the others, but every single time it came back, I think I was excited to see a new Celebrity Jeopardy.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say like even something like the Coneheads back in the 70s, like, that type of stuff, it definitely, they were able, I don't know what this era has. Like, I don't know why this era cannot write for recurring characters and sketches in the way that other eras did. And I wonder if this like rejuvenation of new writers coming in will do that much better than some of the writers we've seen over the last few years. And like, I'm cool with it. Like, I'm cool to see fresh and original ideas. We don't need recurring characters and sketches every episode. But I do think that when you're talking about moments that transcend the show, especially for young people, characters that recur are so much more important for like little kids or teenagers that watch the show, and then they want to show their friends every Stefan or every Celebrity Jeopardy. It makes a big difference in terms of the long-lasting nature of what you're producing on screen.
It's a great way to put it. Yeah, it's yeah.
Okay. This is another question from our friend Ekmal. Ekmal says, at least 2 sketches that appeared in Simu Liu's episode were recurring, whereas all the sketches that appeared in Kieran Culkin and Jonathan Majors were original and brand new. Why do you think that is? So why do you think that the recurring sketches we just spoke about were in this episode as opposed to the previous ones?
Yeah, I like that question. That's really interesting. I was incredibly surprised to see the Janine Pirro cold open back within 2 episodes. I was shocked, and the only part that really got me over the edge to where I really enjoyed it, not really enjoyed it, where I already enjoyed it a lot, but the only part where I really super enjoyed was the part where they switched the rundown to a word find, and I was like, that was a perfect additional joke that I think made this a really good one to bring back right away. And
you know what? Could I get 60 more seconds, please?
It's such a good impression. Like, oh my, Alec Baldwin's Trump, I never disliked, but it was always Alec Baldwin doing a pretty crappy impression that, I mean, he does a better one than I can, but that's not saying much because that's the one impression that I know there's something wrong with me that says I can't even attempt to do a Trump voice. It just doesn't work. But it's I always like fair. Yeah.
That's fair. I think I think part of the answer to this question is that the show has been on for 7 of the last 8 weeks.
Yes.
These people, even though there's like a formula and a routine and they're getting into it and stuff like that, I can only imagine how tired they are. And like these couple weeks that we're going to have now without SNL, like it sucks for us because, we love covering the show and we love talking about it. But I have to think that like they could really use the break. I mean, they did 6 in a row in season 46, and that was really brutal on them. And we saw what happened in the Dave Chappelle episode of, right after the election. Like a lot of really mess. Yeah, it was a mess. Like not a lot of great sketches.
And I enjoyed it. It was a mess. And it won the Emmy, right? Well, he won the Emmy.
Right.
Which I wasn't mad about, but he was in 2.5, 3 sketches. That was such a weird episode.
Yeah, like I think if SNL could have chosen it like the way that they wanted, they would have not had an episode this past week, and they would have had a third one in December. But just due to the dates. Yeah, due to the dates on the calendar, they couldn't interfere with Thanksgiving and then Christmas, and they were trying to get the right breaks in. So I think it just worked out the way it worked out. But I think for like the format, I think we would have probably gotten a higher quality. Like if Simu Liu was on the first week of December, I don't know that you would have gotten the recurring sketches that we got in this episode.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great way to put it.
Okay, this one is from Tran Kwong, who says, should Kate McKinnon return to SNL for the Billie Eilish episode on December 11th? So what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, and I'm tired of people saying she shouldn't come back. She's still a part of the cast. I
Yeah.
think she's great. And of course, she kind of took over the role of like where they go, oh, we can put Kate in this role and Kate will do her shtick and it will be funny. And I'm not mad about that at all. I think she's really funny. I will be very excited to see when she returns, whenever that may be. Hopefully it's next week or next episode.
Yeah, I'm excited to have Kate back. Honestly, I think
Mhm.
that there is a good chance we're going to see her in December. I think that she is a legend, obviously.
Mhm.
Not having her for the last 7 episodes. I mean, the show has been really good, but, I would be happy to have Kate McKinnon on. My question is like, is there a way to have Kate back without interrupting a lot of things that are working this season? And I think
Yeah,
that's the
and
general
yeah.
sentiment in the community is like, can we not fuck this up?
Yeah, where everyone's saying, "Wow, I haven't even missed Kate. I haven't missed her at all." And you're like, well, I'm like, I'm sorry to hear that you don't miss Kate because Kate's great. That's where I am.
Yeah, I definitely would say that I miss Kate, but I don't think that I need her back. I just would
Hmm.
enjoy it. Like if Kate
Yeah,
McKinnon was not a part of the cast anymore, okay,
yeah,
and
like
she was hosting.
she took, yeah,
Let's say, and
yeah,
she was hosting the Christmas episode this
hmm,
season. I would be thrilled. I would be so excited
uh-huh,
about it. I'd be like, this is great. So then, like, is there that big of a difference for having her back? I think the answer is like, wait and see. Like, we'll
yes,
we'll we'll see. Like, if we're certainly going to talk about it if we think that she's having a negative impact on the show. I mean, that's what we do here.
mhm,
So, but
yeah,
I'm going to be fair about it too because she is, like you said, Brennan. She is a part of the cast and she does deserve her time on the show as well. So, I guess we'll see.
yeah. And the last
Yeah.
part of that is that there's so many lines about saying that, like, oh, well, you can see how they're doing it, that they're just succeeding without Kate being there. Kate's not there, so we don't need Kate. And you're like, so you don't know that a different sketch would have been put on instead of Kate being here, and you don't know how well it would have done because Kate's not
Yes.
there, and you can't make that sketch.
That's fair. And then the other thing I'd say is like, despite the fact that, and this is like a little bit of a inside joke in the
Hmm.
SNL fan community, but like there has not been a goodbye sketch for Kate. Like obviously there has been
Yeah,
for some cast members who ended up coming
yeah.
back, but there hasn't been one. We haven't gotten to see that. So like the
Hmm.
question is like, will we get that? And I think we still need to see that before she
Hmm.
goes. So TBD on all that stuff.
Yes.
Okay. This is kind of goes hand in hand. Jeremy Boulard says, do you expect shifts in cast member screen time once Kate McKinnon returns? Any significant storylines to watch heading into December? So I guess this is kind of on hand with what we're saying, but are you worried about her return impacting anyone potentially?
Um, that's a good way to put it. Let me see who I can off the top of my head. Um, maybe. Oh wow, if she's gonna take over some big roles, it would probably affect someone like Heidi or yeah. I would let's just go with Heidi. I think Heidi has the most to lose with Kate coming back, because I
I
know
agree.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I
It's
am.
tough. It's tough. I don't want to speak it into existence. So I'm just gonna say I hope they still find a way to get
Mhm,
Heidi her work on the show for sure because she's doing a killer job. Okay. This one is this from Alexia.
mhm.
She says, as far as segment appearances are concerned, Cecily Strong has dominated all season long. It seems like not only is she having ideas and executing them, but she's also getting written into other people's ideas more than any other cast member. How might this change when she has her one woman show starting in late December? So this was something that has
Mhm.
been brought up to me a couple times this week about the fact that Cecily, we don't know if, there's some weeks she's going to be available, some weeks she's not. So how do you feel like this may impact her, especially moving forward?
Yeah, it's first off, it's really good. It's really, really great to see Cecily as the standout that we all knew she was like probably 5 years ago, maybe even longer by then, because it was like, oh, Cecily Strong's still on the show. She's been on here for a decade. And you're like, she's been on there for a decade for a reason. She is fantastic. And if she ends up Okay, I just thought about this, but if there's a reason that she's getting so much screen time right now because she has to leave, I think that's really good that she's getting so much screen time right now because we will miss her when she's gone for her. I don't remember if it's off Broadway or on Broadway, but it's her one woman show
Yeah,
will.
one more show. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that this is a really cool thing for her, like that she's just like pretty much dominating the first half of the season. And if she ends up, taking some time off, that's okay because
Mhm.
we're gonna have other people that are gonna step into that role, and it'll be exciting to see who takes their place, especially in the
Yes.
female cast. I mean, the female cast has been one that we are talking. We want to be fair to everybody, but we've been talking a lot about Punky and Chloe in
Mhm.
terms of, and Sarah in terms of like
Yep.
their lack of screen time at certain points this season. And then we've been talking about our praise for people like Heidi, who has been getting more screen time this season. So and Ego as well. Like, what are we
Mhm.
going to see from them? Even, who's going to step up? Who's going to go down? I do compare this a lot to fantasy sports. So I often say, Brennan, I'm always like, yeah, somebody, in the context of our conversation, somebody gets injured. Who's the person you want to pick up and replace them on your team? So
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting to see what happens when it's a big piece to pull out of the show potentially. So we will see. Have you been keeping an eye on the Thanksgiving special? I think it started a few minutes ago. Do you know if it's on
I've
yet
been
or no?
trying to, but I lost my password for
Okay.
NBC. So I am
No
8 minutes
problem.
behind. I'm
No problem. No problem. So we'll wrap up in a few minutes for anyone who's watching along and wants to catch the Thanksgiving specials. But this is a question from Alex Dillard. Alex says, expectations for Billie Eilish. She comes off more serious in her work. So any expectations for Billie Eilish?
they are they're not high, but they are I think she'll do serviceable is the lowest term I can put there. I think serviceable at worst. I think she can be really talented at times. I think she is really talented. That's what I'll say. I'm excited for this episode. I think she'll do great as a host and musical guest, and I think she's talented, and I'm excited for the episode.
Yes, I'm really excited to see what we're going to get from Billie Eilish. I think that there is, when I first heard about this, I think I was less
Mhm.
excited than most people. And I think people have convinced me that definitely give her a good chance
Oh,
because
good.
because it seems like I know her more from music and her style of music.
Mhm.
Like, just like, I'm just gonna be real, like, it's not my type of music. Like, I
Yep.
just find like I need something a little bit more like that's just I need something that's gonna pump me up a little bit more.
Mhm.
And I can't do it as much, but like I wonder if this is going to go more in like the Halsey way, where it's like totally unexpected and we get to see like really cool things. And I've heard that Billie Eilish is like really funny on TikTok. Or it's going to go more in like the Adele way, who wasn't bad, but it was just like serviceable last year,
Yeah, it was funny. I
Yeah.
liked that dumb little Africa sketch where she kept breaking, and I liked a
Yes,
lot of the
that was funny.
sketches. Yeah.
Yeah. That was good. Okay, I'm just looking at the Thanksgiving special, so I have it on my TV right next to me. So,
Yep.
you want to know? I'll give you what the rundown is so far, in case you're watching along with
Mhm.
us and you missed it. So we had Debbie Downer's Thanksgiving as our cold
Yep.
open for the Thanksgiving special. For the monologue, you want to guess what the monologue is?
Ooh, is it a really old one or a new one?
It's a very old one.
Okay, no, you're gonna have to tell me then.
Yeah, it's Paul Simon's Thanksgiving monologue from
I
season.
could have. Yeah, that was gonna be my one
Yeah.
guess then.
Yeah, that is from his season 2 episode of the show. And by the way, just for anybody, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to be talking about this for the next month. Paul Simon is not a part of the Five Timers Club. That is like he may be there, he may be in it, but it is a known thing. He has hosted the show 4 times, so
Yes.
nobody get mad of us when we don't include him. And then right after that, we have a very recent sketch and one that I really like. It's a Thanksgiving sketch from about 5 or 6 years ago. Do you know which one that is?
Well, that's not going to narrow it down that far.
Okay,
There's
it's a
lot.
musical sketch from 5 or 6 years ago.
Oh, a musical sketch. It's not the one with Steve Carell, right? Or it is the one with Steve Carell?
No, it's not. So it is in reference to someone we just brought up on the podcast.
Oh, the Adele one, of course.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my favorite one from the last few years. So that was
So good.
that's what we got so far in the rundown. So yeah, so if you guys want to go check that out, that Thanksgiving special will probably be on for another. I think it's a 2-hour show.
Yeah, it's a
so
2-hour show.
So that'll be really cool. Brennan, you were so great on the Patron feedback show. It was like first time we got to talk, and I just think you're such a natural at this. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Yeah. But there's okay. For 1 second, I got to go back to that random Steve Carell one that I talked about. That is, so it's Steve Carell and Cecily Strong, and then Group Around the Table. It's another one. If everyone knows, probably not everyone knows, but everyone will probably be most familiar with the Deborah's Time sketch with Hemsworth. It's just another one of those ones where nobody knows the words, and then by the end of the sketch, everyone sings the random song that turns out everyone did know the words to. That is my favorite recurring sketch right now because for no reason other than it's the same thing every time, and it's just stupid lyrics, and then it's the same joke. It's literally the same joke that they've never changed one time. And there's something about it that it might just be I like when Cecily sings and I like when they get everyone else to sing, but it's something. There's something beautiful about it. That's what I'm gonna say.
Okay,
Something beautiful about that.
That's
sketch.
great. Brennan, anything else on season 47 that you wanted to make sure we talked about while we had you on, or we covered pretty much a lot of it, but let me give you the floor if you have anything else.
The best sketch so far this season was Well, the most I laughed this season was Angelo, the Remy Malik episode with that sketch is really dumb, and I kept laughing a lot. And then my favorite say for me. My favorite pre-tape this season was the first Please Don't Destroy, the hard seltzer one.
Okay.
So those are some, I don't know, some interesting picks, but the best musical guest was Taylor Swift, and I'm not even a huge Taylor Swift fan. I just thought her 10-minute performance was something special. So
okay. Yeah, that's
what
really
I got.
great. Well, thank you for sharing with us, and I appreciate you coming on. Do you have any special Thanksgiving plans that we should know about?
So I am working until 4 p.m. and then going home for food. So that is it's gonna be a great day, hopefully.
Okay, well, I hope you enjoy it. I wish all you and all of our other American friends a very, very great Thanksgiving. I will be watching American football tomorrow along with all of you who watch. So, so it'll be fun. The games themselves, probably not the best slate of games, but it'll be fun.
Yes,
it's always Thanksgiving football is always a good time. Brennan, for anybody who wanted to reach out to you on social media or connect with you at all, do you have places where people should check out?
Yep, I am KellerB57 on Yahoo and Instagram. I am BJKman on Reddit. And the most embarrassing thing about me is that I've been on Reddit so much that I am in the top 1,000 of Redditor karma, which is the most embarrassing thing that I can tell anyone. But something about it something so dumb about that website is I've posted 4 movie trailers in the past 6 years. Few of them blew up, and then the rest of my time I spend on the SNL subreddit, or I talk on the Marvel subreddits about just a new show that came out, or like I watched Hawkeye last night when that came out at 2 a.m. and I woke up this morning with 250 replies. So I just like to chat with people on Reddit, and somehow it works out for me, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and
useless
catch
internet
later.
points. Yeah, useless internet points. That's it.
It's good. I mean, I'm gonna try and catch Hawkeye later with former host Jeremy Brenner. But
yeah,
Brennan, you have to tell us though, for anyone who's curious, how much karma do you have?
I have 1.5 million karma.
Oh my god!
I'm gonna pull up my leaderboard real quick. There's a website called the Karma Leaderboard, I believe. I can just type in my name right here.
This is insane. This is really cool.
I am 930th in the world.
Okay. Don't
on
be embarrassed.
Reddit.
This is the thing. Like when you are like, if you ever go on like a group activity or group trip and you're doing like one of those like icebreaker games and they're like, tell us a fun fact about yourself. Like you have a fun fact. So this is a great one.
Yes, I enjoy the website Reddit so much that I am in the top 1,000 in the world on imaginary internet points.
Yes, exactly. Well, hey, you never know. Maybe one day you'll be able to convert those points for
Yeah.
some cash. I'll be worth
Yep.
it.
And then just make sure you
yeah.
come to the Live from New York subreddit for the Billie Eilish episode because we love talking about the show there. And you're gonna get some haters there for sure, but you're gonna get a lot of people that really love the show, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, like I said, for joining us. And thank you for everybody in the chat who watched live. I hope, like I said, everybody has a great Thanksgiving. If you want to subscribe to our podcast and you haven't done it already, please subscribe on YouTube, search the SNL Network. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those places. And you can follow us at the SNL Network on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of the socials. And we're going to, continue to post as, we head towards the next few episodes. We have some fun shows that are coming up. So maybe if you just join us for our 3 shows a week, and then you're like, oh, what's coming up on the SNL Network? Well, let me tell you, you have some shows to listen to, including this one. Thank you for checking it out through your Thanksgiving break. But we'll be back on Monday night to talk about By the Numbers. And that is when Mike Murray joins us and talks about the screen time. We'll have Nicole Rovine on with us. We'll have Jamie Burwood from TV show Graphs. So there's going to be a lot of fun discussion about the numbers of SNL this season. We're also going to have SNL Stories back next week. And that is a really fun show. I'm not going to announce who's on it yet, but I will do that at the beginning of next week, and you'll post that out to the public. And if you don't know what SNL Stories is, it's where we get to talk to former SNL cast members or people who have been at SNL, and we allow all of our patrons to call into the shows. So if we, we'll talk to the person who's going to be on the show with us for about half an hour, and then you can call in and you can ask them a question if you'd like, if you're a patron. So it's a really fun benefit for being a part of our patron program. You can find more information about that at patreon.com/the SNL Network. And we will talk next week about what else is coming up before the Billie Eilish episode. So thank you all so much for joining us. We will see you next time, everybody. Have a good one.
Have a good night.